cause I'm fly and I'm doing big numbers. Got you still mad for the last 6 summers. Favor from the Lord, you can't take this from us. Overcome your flesh, you should take tips from us. I run it back, pause, run it back, pause. Let me say it this way, take gifts from us. Put in work, chef, nothing like them lip runners. The internet, they thugs, in life they like gunner. Lord, don't let them fake J dwell among us. Take them from they hate and awake them from they slumber. Before you kick them out of the faith, like punters. I pray they okay, see the light before the thunder ends. When they go low, I go to the most high. Man, they hate chef, I don't even know why. Why they mad though, they don't even know I. It's from the inside, they battling with pride. When they go low, I go to the most high. Man, they hate chef, I don't even know why. Why they mad though, they don't even know I. It's from the inside, they battling with pride. Damn, why they so emotional? This truth starting to feel like it's the Oprah show. And we supposed to be brothers with the open quotes. But niggas fighting for the power like they close to ghosts. And that's why I keep the tall me under the tall me. And chef like the Navy, more like the Army. And shout out to the priest, see he tried to warn me that brothers front too, and they never was for me. Why? I thought that we could all be friends. Then I thought again, and I went and bought a Benz, the S500, 2024, no extra miles on it. I'm blessed and while anointed. That's why I keep my eyes on the heels of Yahweh, cause he's the designer. Though the devil wears Prada in a blue dress. I never dance with her, I tell her I'm too blessed. All praises to the Father. When they go low, I go to the most high. Man, they hate chef, I don't even know why. Why they mad though, they don't even know I. It's from the inside, they battling with pride. When they go low, I go to the most high. Man, they hate chef, I don't even know why. Why they mad though, they don't even know I. It's from the inside, they battling with pride.
Toast, 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 toast. Yo, let's make a toast to completing the goals we set to do or be stuck in the hole. It's a marathon, not a race. Stick with the pace and stay in your place. It's champagne for the celebration. I'm full of light like it's dedication. Yahweh's laws is my meditation and my legislation. I do this for fun and not for the funds. They call me a shield in Hebrew, a gun. Protecting my energy, pray for my enemies, blessing the fam. Send me the Addy, I'm there. Hustling hard, collecting my shares. If it ain't truth, you know I don't care. Evil is something I feel in the air. To whom it may concern. Yato dollars, not wisdom. Nah, I ain't respecting it. Trying to play the most high, like you won't get checked in your residence. Corny Instagram clowns, swearing like we ain't out here getting it. These dudes ain't getting the money I'm getting, so when they talk cash, it's irrelevant. I'm riding clean in the Range Rover. You played yourself, now it's game over. The red dot in between the shoulder to the booster shot. I ain't talking COVID. When the cards are dealt, you gotta deal with it. Shout out to the ones that's real with it. When it's time for war, they in the field with it. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You get what you give, so put in the work. Afterwards, you enjoyed all the perks. Actions always speak louder than words. You talking too much, you just wanna be heard. If you're doing good, keep your prayers up. If you're doing bad, keep your prayers up. During hard times, you gotta know it's tough, but you gotta get up. Fool me once, that's shame on you. Fool me twice, that's shame on me. Discernment is key, my wrist is on freeze, feeling like it's below 0 degrees. The more that I see, the more that I learn. You're not in your grind, and bridges were burned. Recognize when it's your time, everybody get a turn. Do your thing when it's showtime. I rip hard when it's go time. I'm praising Yahweh to kingdom come, and the Mashiach Yahweh Shai is son. As soon as he come, the wicked is done. Don't matter the place or set that you from. Don't matter the place or set that you from. On the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. here. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. You on the Lord's side, step over here. You on the world's side, step over there. A toast to all of my people, cheers, put your cups in the air. Put your cups in the air. Put your cups in the air.
12 gang or no gang.
Are you impure, visual through tripping? It's a miracle I ensure spiritual nutrition. Don't need a watch, but time, I'm so ahead of mine. A righteous man falls 7 times, but the highest mountain you better climb. You better get up, man of God. I know it seems hard and you can't land a job. It's either daytime or Suge Knight here. Even on death row, we gotta fight the good fight here. We inhale and I know life be lifing. Toxic relationships, you and wife be fighting. Kids hear it, praying to God in his spirit. In the name of his son, spear to his ribs, pierce it. Israelites in shambles, how did we get here? Look in your house and ask, how many demons live here? We need a Porsche so we can shift gears and get back to bringing the fish near. I swear we need some new changes this year. Some elders sat back and watched it happen like a screenplay, didn't want to stop the action. Things went public, y'all been mourning for weeks. They want me to warn the wolf instead of warning the sheep. We acting like thug goons, you gonna get put in the mud soon. Passover and we just had a blood moon. It's like we love doom, the way we bring other people down with us, even if they was always down with us. I got a ghost rider, Holy Spirit right for me. I didn't have to battle cause the Father fight for me. Maybe I'm the Lord's anointed cause my choice appointed. Probably thought I failed by now so they disappointed. Or maybe I don't make it cause the mark of the beast I won't take it. Authentic and I won't fake it. I love my haters, but if you put your hand out, I won't shake it. Nigga, I'm probably gonna break it. I swear the Israelites are getting worse than the churches, homie. The ones doing the work will be the first to put curses on me. Don't want my baby will, they want a hex or a crazy spell. Got guardian angels, I think it's Michael or Gabriel. I speak in thunders, you stare and wonder, my voice is light. I'm shining like diamonds, I see your ice and it's moist nights. 1,000-page book, I can write all the shit I gone through. Got some dogs in the world, I'll come and get you. I sick them on you, controlling the sheep cause you know they weakness is sorcery. Hard to separate the real from the fake, lot of forgery. You say the Lord's name, you want something, he not a genie. I'm in the third heaven, hearing lessons, you gotta see me. It's World War III, may God, it's Vladimir. Waiting to see the missiles blaze off in the stratosphere. The elect get the victory and I'm cheering through the crowd. My prayers be going through layers, they piercing through the clouds. God doing miracles today and I'm living proof. Snake niggas trying to get me to eat the forbidden fruit. Ain't moving off the corner till we done, better call a sheriff. No hope for my people, they tried to give us Kamala Harris. Heavenly Father, they wearing fringes but breaking the law. Phone out of service, don't even think about making the call. Message to the nation, I don't care who feeling me. I'm praying that everybody they pray for humility.
You know, I want when they see me, they know that every day when I'm breathing, it's for us to go farther. You know, every time I speak, I want the truth to come out. You know what I'm saying? Every time I speak, I want to shiver. You know, I don't want them to be like, they know what I'm going to say because it's polite. They know what I'm going to say. And even if I get in trouble, you know what I'm saying? Ain't that what we're supposed to do? I'm not saying I'm gonna rule the world or I'm gonna change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us. We might not be the ones, but let's not be selfish, and because we're not gonna change the world, let's not talk about how we should change it. I don't know how to change it, but I know if I keep talking about how dirty it is out here, somebody gonna clean it up.
Peace and blessings, family. The dark days are here. On YouTube right now, go check it out for the newest tunes, the newest music videos, the hottest hits in Israel right now, man. Go check it out. You heard it from me, Ephraim McGunn. Peace. Shalom.
Plotted without a ski mask, so they know who I am. Now I lay low with a LO.
Shalom, everybody. How's everybody doing? We'll give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. And I do so, of course, in the name of His only begotten Son, Mashiach Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ. It's your brother, Priest Daniel, representing Lines of Israel, Maccabees TV. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Father for another Sabbath. I want to say peace and blessings to everybody that's listening to us on our YouTube channel, Lines of Israel class, and also those that are listening to us on our YouTube channel, Maccabees TV. Brothers and sisters, if you're watching our YouTube channels, please be sure to subscribe to the channels and hit the notification bell so you guys can be notified every time that we go live or every time that we upload a video. I also want to take a moment, as always, to give a strong shout out to my brother Nasai from Nasai TV. Sergeant Zakaria, I see him in the audience on Clubhouse, so if you want to invite him up, you can invite him up as well. Shout out to the Side TV. Thawada, thank you for allowing us to broadcast directly into people's homes. We appreciate you. And shout out to the Side for coming to Passover. All praise to the Most High. I know you told me you had a good time, so it's definitely great to see you yet again. And hope that it's not a long time in between when we see you again. And last but not least, of course, shout out to my Clubhouse family. Guys, make sure that you guys ping people to the room. Make sure that you guys drop a comment in the comment section. All right, we're going in today, guys. We're going in. A lot of information to come out today. So I want to give you guys a chance. Oh, by the way, for you Clubhouse guys, the link is at the top of the room. As always, every week I give you guys a scale of 1 to 10 as to how important it is for you guys to actually watch the video. 1 second. I got you, Zakaria. Okay, I got you, Zakaria, I think. I got you. 1 second. 1 second. Lately, this app has been acting up. I don't know. You know what? I'll do it, Zakaria, because it's not allowing me to it's not allowing me to do it. I don't know why. I'll have to figure that out later. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Boom. There we go. All right, Zakaria, I modded you up. So, guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, you guys on Clubhouse, I always give you guys a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how important it is for you guys to watch this video rather than just listen. If you can't watch, it's fine. But on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of how important it is for you guys to see what I'm going to show you, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 500. If you can click the link at the top of the room to watch today's lesson, you're better off watching. It's a lot of visuals. On a scale of 1 to 10, it is a 500. So if you're on Clubhouse, click the link at the top of the room. Come on over to YouTube so you guys can see what it is that I'm going to show you, because we're going to go through a lot today. We have a lot. I'm going to give you guys a chance to, it's early in the morning on the East Coast. It's 10 o'clock. For those that are watching in the other time zones, Central, Mountain, Midwest, it's even earlier. I know it's early, so it's an overload of information first thing in the morning, so you might want to get a cup of coffee, right? You guys, iced coffee, right? Because you can't cook, it's the Sabbath. You might want to go into the bathroom and splash some water on your face, because we're going to go through a lot today. Like, we're going to open the floodgates with information today. So I need for you guys to pay attention. And more likely than not, you guys will have to go back and watch this a second time. I have a lot to get through. I'm going to try my best to get through a lot of it as much as I can. I possibly may even go over the normal time of 2 hours today. I don't know. All depends on how the Spirit moves. So with that being said, we're about to get to it. But of course, I'm going to allow the Elder Zahab to unmute and say a couple of words, and then we'll get started.
Hey, Shalom, family. As usual, all praises to the Most High. Ashar Shabbat, Yahba Shem Yahshua Barakatam. All praise to the Most High for bringing us to another Sabbath. Shout out to all the people who made it to Passover, man. Shout yourselves out, man. It was a beautiful time. The priest mentioned that Messiah was there. My brother, it was always a pleasure to see you. And everybody who made it. It was a wonderful time. Words can't express, man. And, you know, I pray we gather like that every Our Holy Day. You know, I hope we don't have much more to go. But while we're here, I do pray that we gather like that. Because it's a beautiful thing, man. And it recharges our spirit to go back out there and do this work, right? So with that, I'm going to cut it short. Priest said he got a lot of information. Just want to salute my brother. Oh, and Captain Zakaria. Shalom, King. Ashar Shabbat. All right, let's go.
All praises, all praises. All right, you guys on Clubhouse, like I said, you guys want to click the link at the top of the room, because I'm going to be showing a lot of information today. All right, today's about showing and proving. Today's lesson is going to be more of the style of lesson that I do in my academies. I usually don't show this much information in a regular Sabbath class. I try not to make it too deep, but we're going deep today because time is short. So we got to talk about these things. Time is short and time is of the essence. With that being said, brothers and sisters, let's go ahead and let's get started with today's lesson. First thing we're going to do, we're going to start, of course, since we are Bible people, we're going to start with the Bible. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. You guys should be able to see it. This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3. Let's start from verse number 1. It says, "This second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance." Verse 2, "That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets." So Peter is saying we need to be mindful of prophecy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in this nation right now. We're seeing a whole bunch of turmoil and chaos within this nation right now. And that must happen also, because the Bible says judgment will begin first at the house of God. So that has to happen. But with that being said, we must also be mindful of prophecy. We have to have a balanced outlook of what's going on in the world, what's going on internally in this nation, and what's going on with prophecy. Verse 2 again, "That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandments of us, the apostles of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ." In other words, we also must be mindful of what the apostles wrote as well. The 12 that walk with Christ and the ones in the apostles that came forward after. We have to be mindful of all these things. Right? Verse number 3. "Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers." So there's a lot of scoffers, people that are against what it is that we're saying. Brothers and sisters, it's going to get worse, not better. It's going to get worse with the scoffing, not better. "Walking after their own lusts," verse 3, "and saying, where is the promise of his coming?" We hear people say that all the time. You guys been talking about this Bible stuff forever. My mother used to talk about it. My grandmother used to talk about it. My great-grandmother used to talk about it. For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. So people are saying that since the prophets fell asleep, right, everything is the same, like nothing is happening. So they start to lose faith. Verse number 5. "For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. And Noah prophesied about that destruction before it happened." And it took a long time for it to happen, but it happened. And it's the same process now, because these things are circular or secular, meaning people are looking for this destruction. They're looking for this thing to happen all at once. No, it takes time. Just like it took time in Noah's day, it's the same thing. Verse number 6, whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished. Verse 7, but the heavens and the earth which are now, it's not talking about the heavens and the sky, it's talking about the kingdoms, the rulers of this earth which are now, by the same words are kept in store, meaning that there's prophecy prophesied against all the rulers of the darkness of this world. So the Most High is keeping them in their position for a period of time. But they're ultimately going to succumb to prophecy, just like in Noah's day, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and the perdition of ungodly men. So we have to keep in mind all the things that were spoken of by the prophets and not lose faith just because these things don't happen right away or as fast as we want or in our time. It's going to happen in the Lord's time, but it's going to happen. With that being said, let's come back and let's share the screen again and go to another scripture. This is the book of John, chapter 11. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 45. Now, we're going to put you in a historical mind state. We're going to do some history today. And we're going to make understanding understood. We're going to show you that the same things that were happening in the first century during the time of Christ and the apostles, some of those same things are happening right now. It's happening all over again. And it's up to us to recognize the signs. So I'm going to show you guys the signs that we are literally experiencing the same things that Yahushua and the apostles experienced in their day. They're not strange. Let's start from John chapter 11 and pick it up from verse number 45. It says, then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus, Hamashiach, Yahushua did, believed on him. So the Christians will tell you that the Jews rejected Christ. That is a lie. Verse 45 again. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did, Hamashiach, Yahushua, what? Believed on him. So this idea from the Christians that the Jews rejected Christ is a lie. Christ was rejected of the scribes and the Pharisees. And the Israelites that followed behind the scribes and the Pharisees, he was rejected by them. But many of Israel believed on him. Verse number 46. Slakia. Jump down to verse number 46. It says, but some of them went their ways to the Pharisees. Right? You had some Jews that would go to the Pharisees because they didn't believe on Christ and told them what things Yahushua had done. So the Pharisees had people that were amongst the crowds when Christ would teach and when Christ would perform his miracles. And these guys would go back and they would report to the Pharisees about what Yahushua was doing. Verse number 47. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees, a council, and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. Here it comes. And the Romans will take away both our place and nation. So the Pharisees and the chief priests, the Sanhedrin, the council, they weren't worried about whether what Yahushua was saying was true or not. They were more concerned with their position. And they understood something. This is very important because we're going to go into some history. They understood that the Romans would come against them. And they were worried about that. So you have to ask yourself a question. Why were the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin so worried about Rome? Let's put a bullet point in that. I'm going to stop sharing. And we're going to go to the next tab. Now, this is from PBS. Now, I didn't want to get a whole bunch of things to confuse you guys, so I found something That was very concise. So this is from the website pbs.org. And all we really want to look at is these paragraphs right here in the middle, the Jews in Rome. Very, very important. It says Jews had lived in Rome since the 2nd century BC. So we were in Rome since 200 BC, 200 years before Christ. We were in Rome already. So the first question you have to ask yourself, if we were in Rome 200 years before Christ, why do people think the book of Romans in the New Testament that comes about like 265 years later, why do people think that was written to Romans, like white people? It wasn't. We were in Rome since the 2nd century BC, 200 years before Christ. Everybody seeing that? Okay. It says Jews had lived in Rome since the 2nd century BC. Julius Caesar and Augustus supported laws that allowed the Jews protection to worship as they chose. Let's unpack that. So Rome used to be ruled by a triumvirate, which was 3 rulers, right? You had Crassus, you had Pompey, and you had Julius Caesar, right? Crassus died first. Pompey was killed in Egypt. He died second, and that left Julius Caesar by himself, and Julius Caesar becomes your first Roman emperor. When he comes to power, he allows the Jews that are in Rome to practice their religion, to practice their customs. He allowed it, right? Because they didn't see us as a threat. After Julius Caesar was assassinated, you had Augustus, which was his nephew. He continued the tradition of Julius Caesar and allowed the Jews in Rome to continue to practice their customs because they didn't see it as a threat, right? But something changed. Something changed. Let's keep reading. Augustus supported laws that allowed Jews protection to worship as they chose. Synagogues were classified as colleges to get around Roman laws, banning secret societies and temples, and were allowed to collect the yearly tax paid by all Jewish men for temple maintenance. But something changed. Pay attention. There had been upsets. The Jews had been banished from Rome in 139 BC. This is before Julius Caesar. We were banned, but then we were allowed to come back, right? And again, in 19 AD, I want to focus on this right here. We were banned again in 19 AD, and then we were banned again during the reign of Claudius. So Julius Caesar and Augustus allowed us to follow our laws in our land, and even the ones of us that was in Rome. We were allowed to follow our laws. But around 19 AD, something changed. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to stop sharing. And now we're going to come and we're going to look at today's lesson in the PowerPoint. I told you guys on Clubhouse, you might want to click the link at the top of the room because we're going to show a lot of stuff today. Click the link and come over to YouTube so you guys can see this as well. Okay. So today's lesson, as you guys can see, is called, excuse me, Mr. President, but your horns are showing. I didn't take this lesson very lightly. I'm going to come out for a second. I didn't take this lesson very lightly. I want you guys to pay attention to what I'm showing you. So we see that we have the orange Cheeto, aka Orange 47, right here with the devil's horns. We're going to come back to him in a little while. But first, let's come over to my other PowerPoint, which is Daniel chapter 2. We're going to pick it up from slide number 13. We're going to read Job chapter 11 and verse number 6. It says, "And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is." So what I want you guys to extrapolate from this verse that I'm pulling, right, is that life in general, existence in general, exists in doubles, meaning things repeat themselves, right? That's where you get the idea of regeneration in the Bible. That's where you get the idea of reaping what you sow in the Bible. Prophecy is also double as well. History is also double as well. There's a saying, you guys have heard it before. Those that don't know history are bound to what? Those that don't know history are bound to what? To repeat it. So existence in itself is double. So the reason why we're looking at ancient Rome is because the things that we're going to see in ancient Rome are playing out in modern Rome today, right before our eyes. And we're distracted by so many other things. And so every now and then the Spirit compels me to do a lesson to kind of get our attention back in focus as to what's going on in prophecy. Let's go to the next slide. Ancient and modern Rome are very similar. We all know these things. So with the stuff I'm showing you guys, there's nothing new here. Nothing new to see here, but we're just going to repeat stuff before we get to the new stuff, right? We know Rome had a Senate, right? That was presided over by the consuls and eventually by the emperor. And we know the United States has a Senate as well, right? Everybody knows that. That's not new. The top Roman god was Jupiter. Here is a statue of Jupiter enthroned. And as you guys could see, he has an eagle right here. So you guys should get the idea. But how many of you brothers and sisters are aware that there's a statue of George Washington enthroned as Jupiter? Did you guys know that? You didn't know that? Now you know. There is a statue of George Washington enthroned just like Jupiter. Why? Because America is Rome reborn all over again. This is the guy that created the statue. Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus. The name Cincinnati in Ohio is named after this guy. And you guys can see this is in Cincinnati. This is a Roman style statue. And of course, the private parts are covered by a leaf there, but it's out. It's very provocative. It's the same. America got the same spirit. It's nothing new, right? In ancient Rome, we can see an ancient Roman with something called a fasci. It's a Roman statue. This is a fasci, right? Brothers and sisters, you have George Washington right here with a Roman fasci, right here. They put it right in front of your face. You're not trying to hide it, but the average person is so distracted. They're in La La Land. Their face is buried in damn social media that they can't see nothing. So they tell you out in the open, but only the elect is going to actually see this and understand what they're looking at. And we can see in the United States Senate right here, we have Barry Soetoro. Y'all call him Barack Obama. His name is Barry Soetoro. You have Sleepy Creepy right here, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi. But what's on the wall? Roman fasci in America. Know why? It's America's Rome all over again. Here we have the HBO show called Rome, right? And this is the guy that played Julius Caesar. I always tell you guys, if you have Hulu or Netflix, it's a little, the homosexual scenes is a little troubling, but goddamn, a lot of you dudes watch The Wire. A lot of you brothers and sisters watch The Chi. A lot of you brothers and sisters watch Power, and there's homo stuff in that stuff too, right? Okay, so this is history. Fill your mind with some history. You don't want to read 500 books like Priest Daniela, then you could go watch series on TV that will teach you the history without you having to read the books. So this is a show called Rome, right? That was on HBO. And like I said, if you have Netflix or Hulu, it's on there. If you have HBO on demand, it's on there. This is Julius Caesar. And you guys can see right there, the soldiers have the Roman fasci right there. Do you guys see that? Well, if this is a Roman thing, explain to me why. We saw George Washington with a Roman fasci. Look who else is sitting on a Roman fasci. Abraham Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial. Roman fasci. Are y'all seeing a pattern? Because I see a pattern here. I see a pattern here. Okay, let's keep going. The symbol for the American Legion, the Roman legions, which was their military, was Aquila the eagle. The symbol for our military, the Department of Defense, is the Roman eagle. Now I'm going to ask y'all, give y'all some homework. Who's paying attention? What is going across the eagle? Put it in the chat. What is that going across the eagle? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. I ain't looking. I got too much to go over, so I ain't going to spend a lot of time. Right? Just making sure you guys are awake. They're telling you something. On the Department of Defense is an eagle with a Roman symbol right here. Okay? Okay. We're not imagining this, right? These are legal Latin terms in law. For those brothers and sisters that are familiar with law, most of your terms in our legal system today are Latin. You get Black's Law's Dictionary, a lot of those terms in there are Latin because America's Rome all over again. Is everybody clear? The Romans had a Colosseum. America has stadiums. Same thing. Same thing. All right. So enough of that. Enough of that. Let's come out. I just wanted to make that clear. Understanding, understood. Okay. So we're seeing a connection between ancient Rome and America. And that's interesting because now we have to come here to today's lesson. It says, excuse me, Mr. President, but your horns are showing. We see you. Everybody don't see you, but we see you. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 15. Now, the context of Sirach 5 is talking about something else, but I'm still going to use it in this particular context because this is something that I believe in strongly. It says, the more you know, the greater your faith will be. This is Sirach chapter 5, verse 15. It says, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Meaning, today, we're going to read Bible verses because we're Bible people, but we're going to come outside the Bible and we're going to do some extra biblical sources as well. I had a gentleman who shall remain nameless that said to me a couple of years ago, priest, why do you read so much? Why do you always read these books and go into this other stuff? Because the more that I know, the greater my faith. This is not a religion. The Bible is not a religious book. It is a history book. And if you are adept and skilled into marrying the Bible with contemporary history, you will clearly be able to see that. And you'll also be able to see things clearer than when you just read the Bible and you had a religious mindset. So I choose not to be ignorant of matters. For people that do, brother, that's too deep. I'm not reading all those books. I don't care about none of that stuff. That's the spirit God gave you. And you don't have to, right? But for me, I'm going to read stuff. And I'm going to come and I'm going to show it to my people, those that really want to learn. That's why I do these sort of lessons in my academy. But today, I think it's important for everybody to see this. Let's move on. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse number 1, a verse that we all know. It says, the words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also riseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. Verse 6, the wind goeth towards the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to its circuit. So we see that the sun follows a circuit, a secular circuit, over and over again. And the wind follows a secular circuit over and over again. Verse number 7, and all the rivers run in the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they go again. With water, there's a continual cycle with water, as we know. You have condensation, you have evaporation, then rain, so forth and so on. It's a secular cycle. We all learned this in science class when half of us was falling asleep, but we all know it. Verse number 8, all things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. Verse number 9, the thing that have been. Now, some brothers, sometimes when they're breaking this down, they're talking about man. They use the scripture as a scripture to prove regeneration because man is a thing. But in this particular case, I'm using the scripture to talk about history. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be, meaning history repeats itself. And that which is done, meaning history, is that which shall be done. So brothers and sisters, now we're coming to the place that we tried to come to for the last 20 minutes. That which is done is that which shall be done. We're going to make a parallel between what was going on in Rome and what's going on today, because there's a parallel. And there is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. And the things that we see taking place today have already happened. And the powers that should not be, no history. That's the difference between the powers that should not be, no history. That's the difference between us and them. They know history. So they consult history to see what works. And what they do is the things in history that worked for them before, for other people in antiquity, they bring it back. Why? And they keep the people distracted so you don't know that they're just doing stuff that they've gone into their old playbook from antiquity to do again to you. You just don't know that. But today we're going to learn that today. All right, let's move on. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 42, verse number 9. It says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So the Most High sends the watchmen, the teachers, to warn our people about things that are going to happen before they happen. Isaiah 46, verses 9 through 10. It says, remember the former things of old, for I am God, Yahweh, and there's none else. I am God, Yahweh, and there's none like me. Verse 10, declaring the end from the beginning. So everything that we're going to see from this day forth until Yahweh shall makes his return has already been declared from the beginning. And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand. The Most High's counsel is that Israel will be the top mountain pursuant to Isaiah chapter 2 and Micah chapter 4. Israel will be the top nations, and all other nations are going to have to come to us to learn. And they're going to do what we say, with Yahweh Shah being King of Kings and Lord of Lords. They're going to do what we say or else. That's the culmination of everything, but there's a process to get there. And so the process to get there also is going to stand, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do my pleasure. So things are going to happen according to the way God wants them to happen. Now, let's get into it. Once again, for you guys on Clubhouse, this is the portion of the lesson that I feel like you guys need to see. So you guys should click the link at the top of the room and come on over. What you brothers and sisters are looking at on your screen, you guys are looking at the Roman Caesars, right? The first family to rule Rome was the Julio-Claudian family, started with Julius Caesar. So you had Julius Caesar, you had Augustus, you had Tiberius, Caligula, Claudia, Nero, Galba, Otho, and Vitellius. This is the Julian-Claudian family. After that, you had a new family that came in, which is the the Flavians, which is Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. We don't care about them. We're dealing with the Julio-Claudians, these guys, from Julius Caesar and Augustus all the way down to Vitellius. This is who we're looking at. So now, let's go back, because I don't want nobody to be lost. We're going to go back. We are on slide number 5. We're going to go back, let's see, 2. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. So I want everybody to be on the same page. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. And I'm going to go back and show you guys something that I showed you guys before. All right, let's come right back here. So what you guys are looking at again is what I showed you guys from PBS. Julius Caesar and Augustus, they allowed us to keep our laws under their watch. But something changed in 19 AD. In 19 AD, we got banished from Rome in 19 AD. Does everybody see that? Okay, I just wanted to bring back that again in case anybody was sleeping. Stop sharing, and let's come back to the PowerPoint now. Let's pick it up from where we were. Oops, 1 second, y'all. All right, let's pick it back up from where we were. We're on slide number 5. So, in 19 AD, after Julius Caesar and after Augustus, in 19 AD, yeah, we got kicked out of Rome during the reign of Tiberius. He kicked us out of Rome. Does everybody see that? Okay. Now we have to ask ourselves a question. Why did Tiberius kick us out of Rome in 19 AD? What did we do? What did we do that was so bad that he went against Julius Caesar and Augustus? He's like, these guys, they got to get out. What did we do? That's a great question. Before we get there, we're going to deal with vocabulary, brothers and sisters. Vocabulary matters. What is a historical synchronism? What is a historical synchronism, and why does it matter? Historical is relating to history. Everybody knows that. A synchronism is simultaneous, something that's happened simultaneously, right? So what you guys are going to be seeing today is proof that the Bible is real. When people say it's a made-up book, it's a fairy. No. We're going to go to Roman records and let them tell you why we got kicked out. Because it's not in the Bible. The Bible don't give you the reason. It just says we got kicked out. The Romans are going to tell you why we got kicked out. Is everybody paying attention? This is proof the Bible is a real book. It's called a historical synchronism. So when somebody says to me, why do you study so much? I want to know why we got kicked out. And when I found out why we got kicked out, and I realized, damn, America's Rome all over again, I'm understanding the war against us today is for the same, because what they were doing, why they got kicked out, is the same thing we are doing today. It's the same thing. So guess what's about to happen? Let's go to the next slide. Who is Dio Cassius? Dio Cassius, who is that? Who's that, Priest Daniela? Well, Dio Cassius is a Roman historian. We're going to do a historical synchronism. Because you say the Bible is fake. Okay, so we're going to see what the Romans have to say about this time period. This is Dio Cassius. He is a Roman historian, right? Was a Roman administrator and historian, and he was the author of Romanica, a history of Rome. So we're going to see what the Romans say in their records about why we got kicked out by Tiberius. He went against what Julius Caesar did. He went against what Augustus did and said, no, these guys, they got to get out. Let's read it. All right. So we're here in an article called Were the Jews Banished from Rome in 19 AD? We just saw PBS said we were, and I wanted to know why. Now, I have Dio Cassius's original work, but it was just too much. I didn't want to overbear y'all, but it was too much. So I found a university article on it where they mention what's in those records. So I'm just going to give you guys the easiest thing for you guys to understand. Were the Jews banished from Rome in 19 AD? We're going to start at the second paragraph, and let's find out why. It says, on the other hand, Philo ascribed Roman malevolence towards the Jews to the machinations of Sejanus, who had been entrusted with the vigilance of the city while Tiberius was away during self-imposed banishment. Here it comes. Pay attention. Here it comes. It says the only other source of information on the reasons behind the anti-Jewish decree, meaning us getting kicked out of Rome, is offered by Dio, who claims that Tiberius banished them on account of their proselytizing activities. There it is. Now, somebody's like, that's not a regular word for black people. So let's come over here. What does the word proselyte actually mean? It is a person who has changed from one opinion to another, from one religious belief or sect to another. So what was happening in Rome was Originally, when Julius Caesar and Augustus were ruling, we were allowed to migrate into Rome. We were allowed to have our temples, so forth and so on. But then we started going out all over Rome, just like we do in America. We started going all over Rome and started proselytizing the Jews that were there. The ones that were worshiping the pagan gods, the ones that were doing the pagan sacrifices, the ones that were in the military, the ones that had abandoned their customs for Roman life. We went in and we started proselytizing them. And it started spreading just like today. And Tiberius was like, hell no, you got to get out. Let's read it again. It says, the only other source of information on the reasons behind the anti-Jewish decree is offered by Dio, who claimed that Tiberius banished them on account of their proselytizing activities. We were changing people's opinions. No more celebrating Mithras, which is Christmas today, all this other stuff that we were doing back then. No more worshiping Janus for New Year's. No, we're Jews. We don't do that. Right? Here it comes. Let's keep reading. As the Jews had flocked to Rome in great numbers and were converting many of the natives to the ways, he, Tiberius, banished them. So we weren't considered a threat during the time of Julius Caesar. We weren't considered a threat during the time of Augustus Caesar. But many of our people started flocking to Rome. You know, Rome is a big major city. If you have a business, maybe you were better off going to Rome and having your business over there, so forth and so on. So over generations, a lot of Israelites started to go and live in Rome. And some of them would eventually get caught up in Roman society, just like today. And throughout generations, you would lose a lot of your heritage, a lot of your customs. So then you had other Jews that would go to Rome, like Paul, and even before him, they would go to Rome and they would proselytize. They would convert these Jews back to their customs. Tiberius was like, hell no. So you know what he did? He kicked them out. Everybody sees that? Let's go to the next one. It says, the only information that we can salvage from the other two accounts is that the Jews had made some impression on the Roman nobility and that certain Roman officials were concerned over the success of the Jewish proselytizing. Are you guys seeing this? Now we're going to take it back. It's time for me to give you guys a little story. As you guys know, Priest Daniela came to the truth late 92, early 93. Back then, the Israelites to people were a joke. When I say a joke, meaning they didn't think it was much of us. And it wasn't really at the time. It wasn't really a lot of us. So we were like no threat to them at all. They didn't take us seriously. But today, you have some camps that have so many members that they can do 1,000-man marches on the street, like IUIC. You have Israelite camps on every corner in every major city around America, South America, the Caribbean, Europe, and Africa. We're everywhere. So now we become a problem. Now you have the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now you have Canary Mission. Now you have the ADL. We have their attention now. They're concerned now because of the success of us proselytizing, changing the opinion of our people. They're worried about it. Before it was a joke. Nobody talked about us. There was a blackout period on the Israelites from the time that Brother Sharia Allah went on Montel Williams around 92, 93. And then they took us off of TV. Because before that, we was on Morton Downey and all them different shows. We were on Richard Bay. They was bringing us on TV. It's like a spectacle, a sideshow. Jerry Springer, I think Jerry Springer was around 96. But after Jerry Springer, I should say, really, there was a ban on us because they didn't want that information spreading. So I would say, and I'm kind of just guesstimating, between 1996 and around 2006, 2007, when YouTube was around, right? The Israelite movement was kind of stagnant. It was. And then YouTube came about. And brothers started putting their content on YouTube. And now you could reach people all around the world without ever traveling there, without ever going there. And our content is coming across people's timelines that are on YouTube looking for something else, but they're seeing this. Our content is coming across the timelines and the feeds of celebrities, people with million followers, millions of followers. Now it's concerning. Now we have to do something about these guys. We're going to put them on these lists, right? We're going to put them on the Southern Poverty Law Center list. We're going to put them on the Canary Mission list. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to monitor these people now. Why? Because they are concerned just like the Romans were. Just like them. It's history repeating itself all over again right in front of our faces. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, don't be distracted. Let's jump down to here. It says, those of the Jews of military age. So when we were banished, we were given some choices, though. Those of the Jews of military age, he assigned to provinces of less healthy climate. So some of our people joined the Roman army. Can somebody say Cornelius? Can somebody say Cornelius? Is that still an argument? Is it still an argument? Those of the Jews of military age, he assigned to the provinces of less healthy climate, ostensibly to serve in the army. So Israelites served in the army. Israelites served in the army, Cornelius. Israelites served in the army of Rome, just like we do in America. The others of that same race of similar beliefs, he banished from the city. You were kicked out on the pain of slavery for life. You were, if you didn't leave, you could be put in slavery for life if you didn't obey. Everybody see that? Okay, time to move on. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 64. Let's pick it up from verse number 1. This is a prayer that David prayed, and this is a prayer that we should pray as well. It says, hear my voice, O God, Yahweh, in my prayer, and preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. We have to pray to the Most High to preserve our life from the fear of the enemy, because these enemies are laying traps for us right now. They're laying traps for us right now. Verse 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, because they're doing this in secret. They're saying these things openly, but most people are not picking up on what it is that they're saying because they're too distracted. From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Verse 5, they encourage themselves in the evil matter. There's evil that they're plotting against those of us that are in the truth. They commune of laying snares privily, traps, and they say, who shall see them? Verse 6, and this is what we're going to get into in the subsequent slides. They search out iniquities. They try to figure out the most diabolical ways that they can entrap us, to destroy us. They accomplish a diligent search. They go back and look at their forefathers, the Romans, to see what they did. And they're going to use some of the same tactics that they used on those Jews in the first century. They're going to use on us. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Their mind is deep. But here's some encouragement, verse number 7. But God shall shoot at them with an arrow. The same thing that they want to do to us, God is going to do to them. And suddenly they shall be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, and all that see them shall flee away. So you have a lot of whistleblowers that know what's coming. And the whistleblowers, which many of them are so-called white people, are not blowing the whistle because they care about you or I, but they're worried for themselves because, see, Esau is so evil, he will destroy his own. The powers that should not be will destroy and kill their own to accomplish their ends. And their people know it. So they're blowing the whistle. And thankfully, even though they don't mean for us to come across this information, we know about it. And so we bring it to you, for you to pay attention. Let's go to the next slide. More vocabulary, guys. What is gradualism? What is that? Well, gradualism is the principle or policy of achieving some goal by gradual steps, meaning they're not going to spring it on you all at once. If they were to spring the things that they have planned, if they were to spring these things all at once, it will be pure chaos in the streets, pure chaos. So what they do is they implement these things in gradual steps. That's what gradualism is. They do these things in gradual steps so that the masses of people are not alerted as to their evil intentions. And the ones that have eyes to see what they're doing are sounding the alarm. You have a lot of whistleblowers, like I said, and they get labeled conspiracy theorists and get laughed off. You see what I'm saying? It's evil, but it's genius because it works. Gradualism is the principle or policy of achieving some goal by gradual steps rather than by drastic change. So these things that they're doing them in steps to see how much they can get away with before people actually wake up to what it is that they're doing. All right. Well, let me show you some of the gradual things that's happening right in front of our eyes. Let's unpack it. So here we have the Cheeto Man, aka Orange 45, paving the way for some really interesting policy that he wants to implement. Let's pay attention. Let's listen to the video. It's not very long. Let's turn the volume all the way up and let's listen to the video. And by the way, do I still have it up? Let's see. Let me just make sure before I go any further that I still have it up. And I don't. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and skip it for now. It means the Spirit don't want me to show you guys this. So I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. But just know, hold on a second. What I want you guys to know is you guys can do your own research. Every time you see Donald Trump in front of a camera for the last 20 or 30 years, he's always sitting with his hands like that. I'm just going to say it. Either you can receive it or you can't. That's a Masonic symbol. That's called Vesica Pisces. That's speaking a whole nother language without opening your mouth to say anything. Those that understand what it is, understand what it is. It's called Vesica Pisces. His hands is always like that for a reason. I'm going to go ahead and leave that right there. Let's listen to what he says. Pay attention. Make sure the volume is all the way up. Okay, let's go.
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to?
Let's go back. So it's been a big thing. One second. For those guys that don't know, that haven't been paying attention to the news because you glued to Instagram and TikTok watching mindless videos that have nothing to do with nothing. There's a brother that was a U.S. citizen who's an upstanding citizen, has a job, no criminal record or nothing. And the ICE agents swooped in and they deported him and sent him to El Salvador, to one of the worst prisons in the world. I'm talking about a prison that has been cited for having human rights violations. The Supreme Court has deemed that 9-0 in a vote of 9-0. They deemed this action by ICE and Donald Trump to be illegal and unconstitutional. So the press is going to ask him about it. And I want you guys to hear what he has to say about it. Listen.
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals.
Did you guys see that? So it starts with this first guy. But then he goes on to say as many as possible. And we have homegrown criminals, meaning U.S. citizens, people that are citizens. He wants to send them to El Salvador too. Now, I know you're asking yourself, well, how is that possible? We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Listen again.
Further, I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country. But
so now, what he's saying, brothers and sisters, is that people committed of doing heinous acts. I agree. Somebody that hits a woman upside the head, that's elderly with a bat, somebody that pushes somebody on the subway tracks. These are evil people that should be in jail, in prison. I don't disagree with that. I think that's true. Now, sending them to a foreign country is something else. But what we have to understand as we're building our way up is they're building up to something. They're starting with the criminals, right? Which in and of itself is unconstitutional, but they're really building up to something else. Let's keep going.
you'll have to be looking at the laws on that state, okay?
Can he legally do that? Of course not. What he's saying is we'll have a constitution-free zone.
In other words, they want to have a constitution-free zone. They're looking for a way to circumvent the Constitution, go around it, to be able to kick people out this country that they deem to be criminals. Y'all paying attention? Okay.
Yes, they're terrible criminals here, but that doesn't mean you can torture them, for example. That's an 8th Amendment violation. That doesn't mean you can violate all their rights. And that's exactly what he's suggesting. We'll do a constitution-free zone.
A constitution-free zone. We need to set a place up where we don't have to really go by the Constitution at all. We can do what we want.
Where we send them to our buddies to torture them, and nobody can contest it in the United States. It's pernicious. This is really, even in this case, an abomination of a day with both those suggestions, Boris. I know you can hear it from my tone, but it is way, way beyond the pale and just contempt for the Constitution.
Well, he doesn't care about the Constitution because they got this idea from the Romans. The Romans was doing that. They were deporting people and kicking people out all the time. Let's go to the next slide.
How many illegal criminals?
Okay. Now, this is another video of Trump saying the same thing. Now, I need you guys to pay attention to what goes on in this video, and let's unpack it. Did you guys hear that? It's real quick. He said, homegrowns are next. So the first gentleman that was mistakenly sent down there to the prison in El Salvador, which the Supreme Court said was illegal, right? That was a beta test. And if he's able to circumvent the Constitution somehow, circumvent the Supreme Court somehow, and never bring that guy back, and it works, then it's going to start happening to more people, and more people, and more people. And someone is sitting there saying to themselves, well, these are criminals. Is that the only people that's going to be deported? Let's listen. Let's listen. Because see, my wonderful tribe of Judah, foundational Black Americans, when the other tribes commit crimes, they're able to be deported back to their homelands. You get deported back to Jamaica. You get deported back to the Dominican Republic. You get deported back to Puerto Rico. You get deported wherever, well, not Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is a U.S. island. You get deported back to Haiti, right? What happens to the tribe of Judah? Where they go? Where are you gonna get sent? Listen. Did you guys catch that? You got to build 5 more places. 5 more places for who? The homegrowns. They plan on sending a lot of people down to El Salvador. Build me 5 more prisons.
Homegrowns are next. The homegrowns, you gotta build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's great.
Something just fundamentally changed in America. When Trump openly defied a unanimous Supreme Court decision to return Kilmore Abrego Garcia from a Salvadoran mega prison after wrongfully sending him there, that's when we entered a constitutional crisis.
So we are in a constitutional crisis now because they don't give a damn what the Constitution is saying. They're doing what they want to do. Listen.
The thing we've been warning about for months. It happens when the checks to ensure the executive branch follows the law are no longer effective, concentrating all power in the president. If the Supreme Court doesn't take decisive action to defend the Constitution, like holding the admin in contempt, then any person, U.S. citizen or not, could be sent to a mega prison in El Salvador for any reason.
Any reason. In El Salvador for what?
For
any reason. Any reason. Let's keep going.
Reason at all. That's why he's already talking about building 5 more prisons there. Trump's attacking the Constitution's separation of powers to make it easier to silence dissent.
To silence dissent. Oh, y'all just thought it was about hitting people upside the head with our bats. Oh, we just thought it was about pushing an old lady on the damn subway. No. It's to quell dissent. That's where it's going to go. But they can't start there. They got to start with the prisoners because most people, reasonable people, be like, well, yeah. If somebody's a murderer, if somebody hits people innocent women upside the head with a bat, if somebody's a child molester, right? If somebody's a rapist, yeah, put them in prison. Yeah, you know what? Send them to El Salvador. Yeah, that person doesn't deserve to be a part of society anyway. Reasonable people be like, you know what? To hell with them. You a child molester? To hell with you. Yeah, send them to El Salvador. The problem is, this is really not designed for them alone. It's designed ultimately to quell dissent. It is the same reason why Tiberius kicked the Jews out of Rome. They was doing too much. Too many people were waking up. Too many people were converting. No, we got to get them out of here. Let's keep going.
Entrench his regime. Even sending homegrown criminals there is unconstitutional. But without that pesky constitutional right to a fair trial, anyone can be sent there, even if they didn't commit any crime. That's exactly what happened to Abrego Garcia, a legal U.S. resident married to a U.S. citizen with no criminal record in any country. And if you look at who they're targeting now, people who use their free speech to criticize Israel.
I hope you guys are on YouTube looking at the video. This is going to be used to target people that criticize the small hats. This is where they want to go. And who's the number one people that criticize the small hats? It's us. As a matter of fact, we say that they're not the people. Even the neo-Nazis and the Klan don't say that they're not the people. We take it a step further. We say they're not the people. So ultimately, these whistleblowers know we're starting off with the criminals that we all could agree with. But ultimately, this is going to be used to quell dissent. You don't go along to get along. You speak against America and call it wicked. You speak against the president. Yeah, this is what they want to do.
No criminal record in any country. And if you look at who they're targeting now, people who use their free speech to criticize Israel, people who vandalize Teslas, lawyers who take on cases Trump doesn't like, they could designate anyone who pushes against the Trump regime a criminal or terrorist or sliding into dictatorship, and that's not even alarmist to say. Trump is acting lawlessly. If he can get away with ignoring the highest court in the land, he'll take it much further next time.
Okay. Let that marinate in your minds just for a minute. Remember that word that we went over earlier called gradualism? The reason why many of us have not picked up on it is because it's not happening fast. It's happening slow. It's happening in increments. They're suggesting policy. They're beta testing, deporting people that shouldn't be deported. They're doing things to see how much they can get away with. And then gradually, if they're able to get away with certain things, the net is going to be cast wider and wider to the point now where if you have certain beliefs, you can be deported. Let's go to the next slide. More vocabulary. More vocabulary, priest? Yes, more vocabulary. Let's talk about what it means to set a precedent. What is that? That is to decide that something will be used as an example, i.e. that guy that was deported wrongfully, that everybody acknowledges was deported wrongfully, that the Supreme Court said he was deported wrongfully and he should be returned, and Trump is like, no, I'm not bringing him back. He's trying to set a precedent to decide something that will be used as an example or a rule to be followed in the future, meaning you can be wrongfully deported and hey, it is what it is. Oops, our bad. You're already there. We're not bringing you back. That's what's going on. Okay. We'll on to the next. I want you guys to read this. We're just going to read a couple of snippets of this article. We're not going to read too much. This is from Rolling Stone, and the date of this article is very recent, right? It is from April the 12th of 2025. That's what, 7 days ago, right? April 12th, 2025. It says Team Trump is gaming out how to ship U.S. citizens to El Salvador. Trump officials are talking internally about denaturalizing American citizens and potentially sending some to El Salvador. Let's just get the finer points of this article. We don't have to read the whole thing. So let's come to this part right here. It says, what's to stop the administration from using the same pretext they used to send people to El Salvador and claiming that these U.S. citizens are the worst offenders, as Kika Matos, president of the National Immigration Law Center? They could start engaging in the same kind of pretextual deportation of people for whom the offenses at the end of the day might have something to do with what you say. So no, it's not going to just be violent criminals. No, it's going to be what you say, how you live your life. Oh, you don't celebrate Christmas. You don't celebrate Easter. You're an Israelite. You don't eat pork. What? And you spreading that around to other people? What tattoos you have on your body? She adds that this is all about this administration testing the bounds, setting a precedent of the law, and trying to consolidate their power by advancing unconstitutional laws and policies, starting with immigrants, not ending, starting with immigrants. And if they're able to get away with people who are immigrants, who are now citizens of this country, if they're able to get away with it with them, then the net is going to be cast further, and they're going to start doing it to others because of what you say, because of how you live your life. Let's go to the next part of the article. It says, when asked if there's any precedent in the past several decades for this kind of crackdown effort, he replies, I hope this is groundbreaking. I hope Trump and his team are trailblazers on this. Hamas supporters can go to hell. And in the meantime, they need to get the hell out of our country. Let me translate that for those that don't understand. If you've been paying attention to the news, there's a conflict between the Palestinians, not Hamas, but the Palestinians, so-called, because they're not really the real Palestinians, and the so-called Israelis. And a lot of people that are living in the land are reporting a lot of the horrible war crimes and human rights violations that are being documented that the Israelis are doing. The people that control the world are the small hats. And so they want to quell any dissent. It doesn't matter if what people are saying are actual and factual and true. It doesn't matter if people have videotape evidence from the ground of human rights violations that are being done to these people. They don't care about that. You're not allowed to say nothing about it. And if you do, we reserve the right to kick you the hell out of our country just because of what you say. Is everybody seeing that? That's eerily similar to why Tiberius kicked the Jews out of Rome. He kicked them out of Rome not because of what they were doing, but what they were saying that was effectualizing change in the people and changing people's minds and changing people's opinions. It was spreading too much. When you have apps like TikTok and other apps that are actually showing you the other side of the coin, because we know ABC News, CBS, NBC, CNBC, right, MSNBC, we know who controls these stations. So we're only getting the news from one side. But social media is the great equalizer. And now you're able to see the other side. The world is seeing the other side and saying, well, wait a minute. We're seeing the atrocities. We side with these people. So it's changing people's opinions. So they're like, no, we got to quell that out. So now what they want to do, they want to quell dissent by throwing people out the country, deporting you, just for what you believe. That's what they want to get to. But they're starting with the criminals first, like I said, because people can accept that. Hope everybody's paying attention. Let's move on. I want you guys to listen carefully. This video is about 5 minutes, but we have time today. So we're going to watch it and we're going to give commentary on what she says. And again, I want you guys to keep in mind, none of these people that's making these videos are making it to sound the alarm for us. It's not for us. They know that they are going to be collateral damage. Yes, white people know that. They know this. They too are going to be collateral damage, many of them, so that the elite can achieve their objectives. They know that. And so as the Bible says, the Most High causes their own tongue to fall upon them. They start blowing the whistle for their people. And we take the information and we warn our people. Everybody paying attention? They see America going down. They see it. They can see it just like we can see it. You know, the difference is we have hope because we know Jacob is Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So we have hope. They know this is it for them. Listen.
As of today, April 14th, 2025, everything you knew about America has changed.
Everything has changed. It's over. It's over.
And I'm going to be real with you. If Congress doesn't act immediately, then the military must. Here's where we are. America has sent an innocent man. Quite frankly, we have sent hundreds of innocent men to a death prison in the Central American country of El Salvador without trial, evidence, or due process. But the administration has admitted that this one specific man, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, should not have been deported.
So they admit he should have been deported. They don't care. They want to keep him there because if it works, then they're going to cast the net further. Let's keep going. Keep going.
That he was a legal resident and an innocent man, and they had made a mistake. The United States Supreme Court agreed, and they unanimously ruled that Mr. Garcia should immediately be returned to our country, and our government has decided to reject their decision. This is clear and obvious proof that our president is now lawless, and we are no longer functioning under the rule of law. Donald Trump just held a press conference in the Oval Office with the president of El Salvador. And when he was asked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he deferred the question to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, who proceeded to blatantly lie to the press, claiming the man was a gang member, which he is not, was in the country illegally, which he was not, and then claimed that the U.S. had no authority to get him back despite the Supreme Court ruling because it was now an international issue, which is a blatant lie.
So they're just passing the buck. Just passing the buck and kicking the ball to the next person. That's what they're doing. Again, don't fall asleep. She's not doing this because she cares about him. They understand that many of them will be collateral damage in what's about to happen, and many of them will be shipped down there too. They know that. That's all that this is. Let's keep going.
To be clear, the Trump administration made a deal with El Salvador. We are paying their country with taxpayer money to take innocent people who have been denied their rights and given no trial into captivity.
Into where? Into where? When you go into that prison, you are in captivity. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what it's like inside there. I'm going to show you. Okay? Okay. Let's keep going. That thing is nothing but a concentration camp. Let's keep going.
As of today, April 14th, 2025, should immediately be returned to our rule of law. Donald Trump just held a press conference in the Oval Office with the president of El Salvador. And when he was asked about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he deferred the question to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, who proceeded to blatantly lie to the press, claiming the man was a gang member, which he is not, was in the country illegally, which he was not, and then claimed that the U.S. had no authority to get him back despite the Supreme Court ruling because it was now an international issue, which is a blatant lie. To be clear, the Trump administration made a deal with El Salvador. We are paying their country with taxpayer money to take innocent people who have been denied their rights and given no trial into captivity with no chance of relief. It is an agreement we set up, not something that's just happening in a foreign nation. It's something that we are paying for. We are kidnapping people off our streets, human trafficking them to another nation, and paying to keep them in a concentration camp.
Come on with it.
That is what America is doing. How that's even allowed is an excellent question because that is not how deportation works. No trial, no proof, no paper trail, and these people aren't being returned to their home nations. They're being sent to a foreign one to be tortured and brutalized forever. Who agreed to that? Then the press turned their attention to the president of El Salvador. And they said, okay, if it's an international issue, are you going to return the innocent man that was mistakenly sent to a prison camp in your country? And he also said no. He said, why would he smuggle a terrorist in?
How did this guy go to be the terrorist? Wait. How did he go to be the terrorist? I thought that he was upstanding citizen, married, no criminal record, nothing, but he's been labeled a what? A terrorist. For what? Nothing.
Hey, Priest, if I could add also, I don't know if you have it in your PowerPoint, but I was watching Nat Geo on that jail and the whole thing in El Salvador. That president is a heathen.
Yeah.
He's not Tentra. His name is
grandparents migrated from Palestine. He's a so-called Palestinian. Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay. You guys got that? They done turned this man, innocent man, into a terrorist for nothing. If they get away with this, I've been saying it the whole time. Just understand that's a precedent. It's going to happen to more and more people. And eventually, you already know. Let's keep going.
The country. And he also said no. He said, why would he smuggle a terrorist into our nation? Who is the terrorist in this scenario? Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a legal American resident, a father, a husband, an American Union member. No one's asking anyone to smuggle. Our Supreme Court is telling you to put him on a plane. But he still said no. So what does this mean? Well, it means America is now lawless.
Yep, that's what it means.
It means the American president, if no one does anything, can label anyone a terrorist.
Y'all got that? You guys caught that? That's exactly what it means. She's right. That's exactly what it means. You could be labeled a terrorist for anything. Imagine you one of them people that's running around talking about you're the Jews and they're not. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's keep going.
and that person can be kidnapped and sent to a death camp in a foreign country without trial. Trump has already admitted he won't be stopping at foreign-born legal residents. In fact, our president was caught on a hot mic after the press conference asking the El Salvadorian president to build more prisons so we could house homegrowns, meaning U.S. citizens he believes are criminals or a threat to his regime. But if an innocent father working as a union apprentice is a terrorist, what's a politician who speaks against him? A journalist who prints something he doesn't like? A citizen who criticizes his policies? We just watched the president of a country known for human rights violations tell the American president that to liberate his 350 million people, he's going to have to imprison some. And our president and our vice president and our attorney general agreed. So I need you to understand that if the American president can just claim a national emergency and disappear people without due process, there's not a single person in this country who is safe. Our constitution is null and void, and fascism.
Did you guys catch that? She done told on herself. Y'all didn't catch that. Listen again.
And our vice president and our attorney general agreed. So I need you to understand that if the American president can just claim a national emergency and disappear people without due process, there's not a single person in this country who is safe.
In other words, she's doing this for her and her people. Oh yeah, some of y'all thought she was doing it for the 10 tribe brother. No, they know that they're collateral. They know their government's history. There'll be collateral damage too. Okay.
Our constitution is null and void, and fascism is here. Now I'm going to be calling Congress to insist they act, because this is an impeachable offense.
It's not going to be helped with a phone call, lady. Let's move on. Phone call is not going to help the situation. God's will is going to be done. Okay. Now a little bit more history, because now somebody listening is saying, yeah, but you can't send American citizens down there. How is that even possible? That's a great question. Let me help you out. What is a treaty of cession? You guys ever heard of that before? No, then we're all going to learn about it together today. And they're hoping that this treaty sets a precedent for what they want to do. What is a treaty of cession? This is how Alaska got to be one of the states. It says in Alaska, Russia was, and this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, Russia was established in the Treaty of Cession in 1867, which declared the transfer of Alaska from Russia to the United States. The roughly 1,000-mile de facto boundary runs through the Chukchi Sea and the Bering Strait to a point between Alaska's St. Lawrence Island and Russia's Chukchi. I can't pronounce that. So basically, it's a transfer of land from one government to another. That's what a treaty of cession is. Everybody with me? That's what a treaty of cession is. The transfer of land from one country to another. Now you're asking yourself, what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Well, I'm going to show you. See, when the Bible says they make a deep search, they make a deep search. It says military contractors have proposed El Salvador's Secot prison become what? Become what? U.S. territory. You transfer land from one country to another. So even though this prison is in the middle of El Salvador, there is a proposal that they're going to make that prison in the middle of El Salvador a U.S. territory. And that way, that's how they circumvent the Constitution. And they can send you to El Salvador, to this prison. Military contractors propose El Salvador's Secot prison become a U.S. territory. With a treaty of cession, transferring a prisoner would not be an extradition or a deportation. Now you can't fight it, because that prison in the middle of El Salvador, somewhere in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, is U.S. territory. But you've been kicked out of the mainland. I wanted to show you guys where this is. So this is Municipio del Tecoluca, or Tecoluca Municipality in El Salvador. This is right here in the middle of the country. And you guys can see the terrorism confinement center is in Tecoluca, El Salvador, in the middle of the country, and they're proposing to make that prison a U.S. territory. So they could just send you there. You can't fight it. Can't say you're being deported. You can't fight it. This is evil. When the Bible says they make a diligent search, that's what they do. They search out iniquity. That's what they do. Let's go to the next slide. Let's look at some of Orange 45's friends. It says former Blackwater, and I have the hour right there because we have to examine who Blackwater is. Former Blackwater CEO Eric Prince and a team of military contractors are proposing to the White House a plan to greatly increase deportations to El Salvador. And one of the things that's on the table in these plans is to make this particular prison in El Salvador a U.S. territory. The plan, which calls for the transfer of thousands of people from U.S. detention centers to a maximum security prison in Central America, will target criminal, illegal immigrants. Now, you guys notice that's in parentheses. You know why? Because that's only where it starts. To avoid disputes, however, Prince and Associates suggest designating part of El Salvador's notorious Secot prison, already under the scrutiny of human rights groups, as a U.S. territory. That's how they're going to be able to circumvent it. Let's come to the last part of the article. It says, finally, the program includes a treaty of cession, just like Russia transferred Alaska to us, a transfer of land. They're proposing that the El Salvadorians do the same thing. Just make that area a U.S. territory. Now we can circumvent constitutional law. We can send people there, and the United States will continue to give you money. We'll pay you to do that. And then we can send people down there. You know, we're going to tell the people at first it's only the criminals. It's only the rapists. It's only the child molesters. It's only the murderers. And people go like, yeah, but no. Nope. It's going to be way deeper than that. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Now, let's find out a little bit about this fella here from Blackwater that's in Trump's ear that's actually suggesting this. But let her tell you a little bit about this guy. Listen to the video.
This is Eric Prince. He founded Blackwater. Blackwater is one of the most prominent private military companies in the world, bankrolled by the U.S. government, but answerable to no one.
They don't answer to nobody outside of Trump. They're bankrolled by the U.S. government, but they don't answer to anybody.
The most prominent private military companies in the world, bankrolled by the U.S. government, but answerable to no one. He was a former U.S. Navy SEAL, and Blackwater are the private military company that the U.S. government used in Iraq and Afghanistan. These wars secured this man over $2 billion in Pentagon funding. Blackwater employees were convicted by the federal government for massacring Iraqis. In 2020, Donald Trump pardoned these men. 2019 UN report found that Prince violated an international arms embargo by supplying weapons to Libyan rebels, allegedly. After selling Blackwater, Prince founded FSG, which is listed as a Hong Kong registered company. FSG stands for Frontier Services Group, and it has been involved in projects across Asia and Africa, including plans to build a training facility. This is just more American bro attempts to destabilize global government.
So this is, we ain't got to watch the whole video. So this is what this guy is known for around the world. Just going around the world, destabilizing governments, and getting rich off of it, imprisoning people, killing people, and getting rich off of it. And he's the same guy that's proposing to Trump that we make that area in El Salvador a U.S. territory, and then we can just send people down there, right? Okay. Now, I think it's about time that we take a look into this particular prison that they want to make into a U.S. territory. I think it's about time we take a look in there and see what is this place all about, because it's interesting. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's watch this video.
All right, we're gonna go in here. Even as I'm stepping through these doors, I don't fully grasp what we're about to walk into. Suddenly, you're hit with the intense gaze of dozens locking onto you. These men described as the worst of the worst, tattooed with reminders of El Salvador's dark past. It's tense and uncomfortable. But here, officials say comfort isn't meant to exist.
There's no mattresses, there's no sheets. You've got a toilet over here for them to go to the bathroom. You've got this basin here that they use to bathe themselves. And then you can see there's a barrel of water that they can drink from.
This is a rare look inside El Salvador's terrorism confinement center, known as SECOT.
He says there's always somebody standing here in front of the cells. And then if you look up, there's another corridor with more security personnel. Luz 24 horas, 24/7 light.
The prison sits like an isolated fortress, nestled in mountainous terrain, about an hour-and-a-half drive from the capital. Even with government officials on board with us, we're stopped a mile out.
Oh, okay. He's gonna inspect bags now too. Okay, we're clear to get back in.
Only to hit another checkpoint. Approaching the main gate, our cell signals vanish.
You want to do a full search on us before we enter.
SECOT's director, Belarmino Garcia, greets us.
Bienvenido.
Now remember what we're watching. Don't lose a thought. This is the place they want to buy this and make this a U.S. territory, as we saw. Listen.
And takes us through a rigorous security check.
Wedding ring. So this is like airport security on steroids. Anything that we're carrying with us. Okay. Anything we're carrying with us has to go there. And then there's a body scan that continues on the other side. Okay. Shoes off. Back on. Gracias.
Once cleared, we tour the vast campus, starting with the armory.
He says they have to constantly remind themselves that they're dealing with essentially the worst of the worst, and for that reason, they need to be ready for whatever risks they might face. It's been equated to 7 football stadiums. It's almost multiple prisons within the prison. You can see off to the distance, there's 3 different rings as they describe. The far end, you have one that's 9 meters high of concrete, and then above that, 3 meters of electrified fencing.
15,000 volts.
15,000 volts.
More than 1,000 security personnel, guards, police, and military are stationed on site. Inmates are assigned to one of 8 sectors.
The director tells me the inmates, once they're inside one of these sectors, they never leave. Everything is done within, including doctors, as well as legal visits or court hearings.
Each sector holds more than 24 large cells.
Roughly 80 inmates per cell. But
There's 80 people in one cell. 80 people in one cell, and only 2 toilets in there.
Can fluctuate.
Most bear the markings of the gangs that held this nation hostage for decades, committing brutal acts of violence.
You gotta kill people, you gotta rob, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive.
You have to do those things.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
And if you didn't do those things, you wouldn't
be a gangbanger.
We meet 41-year-old Marvin Vasquez, shackled and heavily guarded.
What gang were you part of?
MS-13.
And do you have any gang affiliations?
Yeah, I'm tattooed up.
So we don't have to watch the whole video. I kind of just want you guys to get an idea of what life is like in this particular prison that was once designated for the worst of the worst of their country. They have a beta test where they deported somebody wrongfully to this prison, won't bring him back, circumventing the Supreme Court, circumventing Congress, doing their own thing. And Donald Trump has somebody in his ear saying we should buy that place and use the Treaty of Cession and make it a U.S. territory so we can ship more people there. And while we're at it, let's just build 5 more prisons in that area as well. I want you guys to pay attention to that. Hopefully everybody sees that. Okay. So let's recap for a second. We saw Tiberius Caesar. Well, first of all, let's even go further back than that. We saw Julius Caesar and Augustus that allowed the Jews to follow their customs in our land and in Rome, because they didn't really see what the Jews were doing as a threat. But then, around the time of Tiberius, with all the proselytizing that was going on, a lot of our people were changing their minds, changing their opinions, changing their lives, repenting, whatever words you want to use. And the Romans were like, they got to get out. And they kicked them out of Rome. But eventually we were allowed to come back. Right? What do you guys think happened when we went back? We started doing the same thing all over again. Proselytizing, teaching, so forth and so on. So it became a problem again. This is where your Acts chapter 18 comes into place. For those people that say the Bible is not real, we're going to do some historical synchronisms, and I'm going to show you that what's written in Acts chapter 18 is also written in Roman history too. This is Acts chapter 18, starting from verse 1. It says, after these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome. So here it goes again. We were kicked out by Tiberius, right? We were eventually allowed to come back in. We started doing the same thing we were doing before we got kicked out the first time. So now we come to Claudius. What slide are we on? We're on slide number 28. Let's come all the way back to the beginning, right? And let's look at the slide real quick. So after Tiberius, you have Caligula. During this time, we were allowed eventually to come back. And then after Caligula, you have Claudius. And then we got kicked out again. All right, let's go back to where we were. Verse number 2, it says, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all the Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. So the reason why Aquila and Priscilla and Paul met up in Corinth was because Paul was in Athens and he went to Corinth, right? But Aquila and Priscilla, they had been in Rome. And when they were commanded to leave, they had to leave. And so they all met up in Corinth, right? I've gone over in the past what was important about them. Of all the places they would go to Corinth, right? I explained why, because when you read verse number 3, they had the same profession, which was tent makers. And there were things that would happen in Corinth where tent makers would be able to make a very good living. I've gone over that before, but I don't want to go over that right now. It's not relevant to the lesson. So now we read it in the Bible, right? But people say the Bible is not real. Okay. So then we have to ask ourselves a question. Who is Suetonius? Who is that? Oh. Suetonius is a respected historian as well. Let's read it. It says, Suetonius was a Roman biographer and antiquarian, meaning someone that is in knows of ancient things. That's what an antiquarian is. Whose writings include De Viris Illustrious of Illustrious Men, a collection of short biographies of the celebrated Roman literary figures, and De Vita Caesarum, the lives of the Caesars. So Suetonius was a historian that wrote a book about a lot of the Caesars, right? The lives of Julius Caesar and the first 11 Roman emperors after him. He wrote history about them, right? Now, of course, the critique of his books was that he was dealing with a lot of gossip and a lot of scandal, but these guys were off. So it is what it is. He recorded everything. Hey, it is what it is. So he's very familiar with the history of Rome. This is a book I have called The Lives of the 12 Caesars. By who? Suetonius. Right? We've Elder Zahab, remind me, I'll send you this so we can put it on the website in case anybody wants it. We're going to jump over to page number 317 concerning Claudius. Because remember, people say the Bible is not real. We read about Claudius kicking the Jews out in the Bible. Does history record that too? Does Suetonius record that too? Because Suetonius is not an Israelite. He's not a Jew. Do they record that too? We're on page number 317. So we see at the top that we're talking about Claudius. When we come to page 318, it says, he banished from Rome all the Jews, watch this, who were continually making disturbances at the instigation of one Chrestus. So this guy Chrestus convinced Claudius to banish the Jews, just like Tiberius did, to banish the Jews out of Rome because we're known for making disturbances. That's these Jews that's running around proselytizing everybody. We got to get them out of here. We got to get them out of here because if they continue to proselytize everybody, eventually these people are going to rise up in an insurrection against us because we know that the Jews will always, there's a time in history. I'm going to come out real quick and go over here real quick just so you guys know. In case anybody is new and you don't know about this, let's do this together. There's something called there's a period in history called the Jewish-Roman Wars. We're not going to get into it. I just want you guys to know about this. There's a period in history called the Jewish-Roman Wars. Okay? Now let's come back to the PowerPoint. So I want you guys to see. So Chrestus was like, yeah, we got to get these guys out of here because if we allow them to continue proselytizing people and doing what they're doing, eventually these people are going to rise up in an insurrection, which a lot of Jews did. That's why Paul wrote what he wrote in Romans chapter 13, which one day I'm going to have to go over again, about obeying the powers that be. That was literally in the original context because there were so many disturbances that our people were causing in Rome. We were doing that. And that's why we wound up getting kicked out. We were causing a lot of disturbances. Bringing it up to modern times, they consider what we're doing right now to be disturbances. These guys are always on the corner yelling at the top of their lungs with a bullhorn and disrespecting people and cursing people out and so forth and so on. You guys already hear the grumblings and the moaning already. We already hear it. It's the same thing as history repeating itself all over. We're in their face. The brothers from HOI every year on the 4th of July go and do a camp, a unity camp in front of the White House. Y'all guys don't think after a while, they're going to get sick of that? Okay. I'm going to give you guys a story real quick. You got to put yourself in a time capsule. Most of you brothers and sisters are old enough to remember 9/11. I want to preface this by saying this. In hindsight and retrospect, I don't believe it was a good idea. Let me preface this before I tell you guys the story. Let me preface this by saying this. I know that there's a few people that listen to the class that know exactly what I'm talking about. My man Kanai Shah, others, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it was a good idea, but this is the zeal that brothers have. Sometimes brothers got too much zeal, whatever, but it's all relevant. So everybody knows what happened on 9/11 when the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers came down, right? Brothers, I can laugh about it now. Brothers, I'm not talking about in other states. I'm talking about at the epicenter. Imagine you got two of the most prominent buildings in New York City, and the iconic buildings in the world, just came crashing down. The entire city is on edge. They don't know what's going on. People are scared, all that stuff. What do you guys think brothers did? You had a group of brothers that went in the street and was teaching and mocking the buildings coming down, saying it was God's judgment. All you know how we teach. Brothers got locked up behind that. Brothers got locked up behind that. They did. Because people were sensitive to that, right? Was it the best idea to do it? Probably in hindsight, no. But that's what brothers did. What I'm trying to show you is that this is your history of the Israelite movement. This is what has happened. There's only but so much that Esau is going to take before he's like, enough. Enough. These people are causing too much disturbance. We got to do something with these guys. That's what's happening slowly but surely now. And I know most of you guys can see it. And it's going to get worse. All right, let's continue. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this video because it's very, very important. So we saw that Tiberius exiled the Jews out of Rome. They were able to come back. We saw that Claudius did it again. They were able to come back. But there's a point in history where we constantly get exiled from countries because of what we're saying. I want you guys to watch this video right here. Listen very carefully. Let me turn the volume all the way up. Listen.
This is mind-boggling to watch. Meliskoski here, or Netanyahu as he likes to be called, is actually telling the American people that their biggest threat are their fellow citizens.
And this vilification of Israel, the Jewish people, and Western values, it must be resolutely fought by civilized societies to safeguard their future. This is why we must all commend President Trump's decisive actions against anti-Semitism. A government can do.
Now, I want you guys to listen. This is the part I want right here. Forget about this guy right here. Forget about this clown. I want you guys to listen. This is U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman. I want you guys to listen to what one of his suggestions are for people that speak against them. Listen.
And can do in 2 months more than any organization could do in its lifetime.
You're alluding to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, none of them are any good on the right. On the left, I don't like any of these anti-Semites. And this vilification, anti-Semites, most of these people running around, we're not going to win their hearts and minds because they don't have hearts and they don't have minds. Vilification. So, how are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them. We can put.
Yeah, y'all caught that? Because he's talking fast. He said, how are we going to win them over? We're never going to win their minds over, but we can deport them. Get them out of the country.
It's vilification. So, how are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them. We can put them in jail. We can make their lives miserable. We can cut off their.
We can put them in jail. Like buy a prison in another country, invoke the Treaty of Sessions, and make it a U.S. territory, and we could put people like that in jail. Damn it!
Any of these anti-Semites, this vilification, anti-Semites, most of these people running around, we're not going to win their hearts and minds because they don't have hearts and they don't have minds. Vilification. So, how are we going to, there's no reason to think we're ever going to convince them, but we can deport them. We can put them in jail. We can make their lives miserable. We can cut off their funding. And that's what
we can make their lives miserable.
The Trump administration is doing for the first time.
Imagine if the president of the United States went to a foreign nation and told their president that they need to deport their own citizens who are anti-American. What would you think of that nation's president if he complied? Why on earth would Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson not be able to criticize a foreign country? Netanyahu has convinced the American people that there's this radical Islam. There's no radical Judaism. He's not radical Judaism, but there's radical Islam out there that's coming for America, even though they're literally on the other side of the world. And they are his enemies because Israel is trying to expand into the Middle East. That's what's going on here. This is not rocket science. You've been told that this is impossible to understand. It's really not. Israel is trying to get more land. That's why they don't want to just take out Hamas. They don't want to send anybody in there and get 2,000 members of Hamas and deal with that little tiny non-army with no airports and no military equipment really to speak of. But what they want to do is bomb the shit out of that entire area so that it's useless, so that they can take it over and expand their empire. Because
there's something called the Greater Israel Project, which I've shown you guys before. But the point is that a lot of people, especially in this country and in Europe, are seeing right through them, even though they control the media. Social media has evened the playing field. People are seeing through it, and the court of public opinion is against these small hats. And so one of the things that they're talking about doing is deporting people, imprisoning people, all that if you speak against them. That's the idea. That's the idea. They get that playbook from back in Rome. That's what the Romans did. Remember we read earlier, the Romans were like, if you don't leave Rome, you can be put in slavery for life. Okay.
This is...
Yeah, they get it ready, man. Slowly but surely, gradually, they're exposing these talking points. They're putting certain laws in place, certain policies in place, gradually, and they're testing the waters to see how far they can push it. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, starting from verse 11. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. Because even though we see exactly what's happening, we have to, brothers, love not our life unto death, meaning even though we see these things happening, we still have to persevere. We still have to teach. We still have to tell the truth. What do they say? They say, tell the truth and shame the devil. We still have to do that. Even though we know that it can cost you in the future your life. But there's an old saying, I'd rather live one day as a lion than 1,000 days as a lamb or a sheep, whatever the damn saying is. Y'all know what it is. Verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time. The reason why these things are all being put in place is because they understand prophecy to a certain degree, not the way that we do, but they understand. And if they don't understand anything else, just the mere visualization of the Israelites standing upon their feet, the dry bones standing upon their feet, Judah and Israel coming back together and being that one stick, like on that sign that we have out there, the 12 tribe sign. Just seeing that is proof alone that their time is short. And they know it. And so they're setting these things in place and saying certain things as to not alert the people. We're just going to lock up the criminals. We're just going to, but these things are really being set in place to come against us. I want you brothers and sisters to understand that. Jumping down to verse number 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman. Who was the woman? Israel. And went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Christ. They're going to eventually make war with us. That's the idea. We need to be aware of that and prepare ourselves spiritually for that. Let's continue. This is a screenshot from the White House website. As you guys can see, this happened on January 29th, 2025. This is 11 days after Orange 45 was inaugurated. And what is the presidential action that he signed? Additional measures to combat this. These things are slowly being put in place. How many of you guys were aware that this policy was signed 11 days after Trump was inaugurated? Most people weren't, because we're distracted with everything else. But they're putting these things in place. Let's look at section number 1. My administration has fought and will continue to fight anti-Sem in the United States and around the world. On December 11th, 2019, I'm going to stop for a second. And I'm going to come out. Does anybody know why December 11th, 2019 is a very important date? If you know why that date is very important, I want you guys to put it in the chat. I'm going to come out this time. I want to see it for myself. I'm going to come look in the chat and see if anybody knows why December 11th, 2019 is a very important date. Let me look at the chat for a second and see if anybody, can somebody put in the chat and tell me? Somebody tell me why that date is important. I'm curious. Salome said COVID. Great answer, but nope, that's not it. Anybody else? I'll give you another minute. Shout out to the Tabernacle of David. Corey said I can continue past 12 o'clock because they're preparing for the closing of the Passover. So I get to continue my class past 12 o'clock, which is good. That's why I'm taking my time. So nobody else has anything to say. Everybody's quiet. It's cool, though. It's cool. This is what we're here for. We learn together. Let's come on and come back to the PowerPoint now. Let me explain to you guys why this is important. Let's look at this one more time. So this is from January 29th, 2025, 11 days after this guy was inaugurated. Some of you guys were doing the Trump dance and all that. Some of you Israelites were doing that and got caught up in the wave, huh? Okay. Section number 1 of this decree. It says, my administration has fought and will continue to fight anti-Sem in the United States and around the world. On December 11th, 2019, a very curious date. Very curious date. I issued Executive Order 13899. My first executive order on combating anti-Sem. That's all we need. I don't need nothing else. This order was issued on December 11th, 2019. Executive Order 13899. Okay. Before we get to why that date is important, let's look at another piece of history. What is Title VI? And how does it apply to Executive Order 13899? How are they related? Well, Title VI was enacted as part of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. So it's part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But how does it apply to Executive Order 13899? That is the operative question. Well, here's the answer. Let's look at it right here. Executive Order 13899, Section number 2, that Donald Trump put out on December 11th, 2019, is that there will be robust enforcement of Title VI, which we just learned, let's go back, is part of the Civil Rights Act that prohibits discrimination based on race. Let's talk about it. Why do you guys think it is that the small hats don't identify or try to identify themselves with the rest of their Caucasian brothers? They say, no, we're our own race. To be a Jew is to be a race. We're looking at them like, no, to be a Jew is to be from Judah, which was one of the sons of Israel. So if you're a Jew, you are Judah, or from the kingdom of Judah. They don't identify themselves with the Bible stuff. They say we're a race. Because see, these laws that were put in place, the Civil Rights Act, we thought it was for us. But no, it was put into place for us at first. Just like shipping people off to El Salvador is originally for the criminals, but there's really malicious intent behind it. Well, these civil rights laws that we thought were for us, the main people benefited from it is these other nations, not us, period. Specifically the tribe of Judah, but specifically foundational Black Americans, they're not benefiting from the stuff. You know who's going to benefit from it? The small hats. Because they've identified themselves as a race. And so Section 2 of the Executive Order 13899 combating anti-Semitism, which was signed on December 11, 2019, is a robust enforcement of Title VI, which is supposed to protect us, but they're going to use this to protect them. So the next question you have to ask yourself is this. Well, how are they going to use it to protect them? That's a great question. Let's go to section number 1 right here. The non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism adopted on May 26, 2016 by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the IHRA. Let me translate this for you guys and make it real simple. How they're going to enforce this executive order is that they're going to allow a non-governmental agency, the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, they're going to allow these people to define what anti-Semitism is, translation, whatever they want it to be. And they will have the government backing them up. Whatever they define it is, if they say that to wear a green hat is anti-Semitic, the government will back them up. Is everybody paying attention to what's happening? It's non-legally binding, but they're going to recognize it. Whatever they say it is, that's what it's going to be. Everybody with me? Okay, so now you're asking yourself, okay, we heard that part, but what about this December 11th? You said this was a curious date. What's so important about December 11th, 2019? That's a great question, brothers and sisters. And here it is. How many brothers and sisters remember the so-called shooting in New Jersey in 2019? Brothers and sisters, when did that happen? It happened on December 10th. It happened on December 10th, one day before this executive order. Let's read it. On December 10th, 2019, a shooting took place at a kosher grocery store in the Greenville section of Jersey City, New Jersey. 3 people were killed at the store by 2 assailants, David N. Anderson and Francine Graham. The assailants also wounded 1 customer, 2 police officers before being killed by police during an ensuing shootout. A Jersey City Police Department detective had also been shot and killed by the assailants at a nearby cemetery just before the grocery store attack. Here it comes. Look at this. Anderson, who identified as what? As what? As a Black Hebrew Israelite, had a history of posting anti-Semitic anti-law enforcement messages on social media. The reason why Donald Trump signed this executive order one day later was because of what took place in New Jersey. That's why. They put something in place to eventually come against us. Because for those that don't know, the district attorney of New Jersey said there is no proof. I've played the video before, and maybe I'll play it again in the future. There is no proof that the Israelites were involved in this. These people were not Israelites at all. They went all the way back to the MySpace days. How long ago was that? Where these folks were looking at Israelite, maybe videos, looking at literature all the way back in them, just looking at it. Never identified, never were part of a camp, never were part of a congregation, no pictures of these guys at a Passover wearing garments, none of that, none of that. They just looked at it. And they automatically said that they identified as us. And then one day later, you get this executive order. Y'all with me? Let's go back. So in 2025, your man Trump ran it back. January 29th. That executive order is from 2019. Then he lost the election to Biden, left office, and now he's back. And now he claimed to run it back. And he's running it back. To go all the way back to that they tried to blame us for. Y'all paying attention? Hope y'all paying attention. Y'all be distracted if you want. But I see this as clear as day. I know what's coming. It's only a matter of time. Now, let's move on to the next thing. Since the government doesn't have a working definition of what anti-Semitism is, they are basing their definition off of the IHRA. Whatever they say, we agree with. And that's how it's going to be enforced. Right? Right. So we got to go find out what the IHRA says it is. So we came to their website to see. So as you guys can see, I took a screenshot of the IHRA, their website, and it says the working definition of anti-Semitism. This is what's going to be enforced. This is what can land you in a prison somewhere in the future, whether you believe it or not. If you fall under this category. Let's see. So let's just start right here. I don't want to read all of this because it's just too much, right? Let's start right here with this blue box right here. It's the same thing that's in Trump's executive order. It says, I'm trying to see something here. Okay, let's read it. It says, adopt the following non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. It says, anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews. So if you have a perception in your mind, that's enough for you to be an anti-Semite. It's enough. You didn't do nothing. That's enough. Which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, towards Jewish communities, institutions, and religious facilities. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's get some of the things that can make you anti-Semitic. Let's see what it says right here. Making mendacious or dehumanizing or demonizing or stereotypical allegations about the Jews, such as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media. So we have to ignore what's in front of our face. All the major media conglomerations are controlled by them, but you're not allowed to say it. If you say it, you're an anti-Semite, even if it's true. They don't control YouTube. They're not the ones behind a lot of these record labels that's peddling all this music that's destroying this deaf culture, that's destroying our youth. No, they're not. Even though we see that they are, but they're not. No, Liar Cohen didn't go on the Breakfast Club, and when he was asked about why he peddles this deaf music into our community, he says he has to feed his family, but we can't talk about that. No, be quiet. Nope, can't say nothing. Okay, we get it. And the economy. No, they don't control the banks. No, there's not a video that was put together by them that says that they invented Hollywood. No, we can't talk about that. Government or other societal institutions. So even though this stuff exists, even though it's clearly visible to the entire world, you're not allowed to talk about it. If you do, you can be considered anti-Semitic. Look at this one. This is even better. This one is even better. This is my favorite one right here. Accusing them as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing. Do you guys see that? For real or imagined wrongdoing. In other words, even if they really did something, even if they really did it, you can't say it. Wow. Accusing them as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing. In other words, yeah, they were insuring a lot of those slave ships. Yeah, there was quite a few of them that actually had slaves in the Old South and on plantations. Yeah, the Secretary of State for the Confederacy was one of y'all, right? Yeah, but no, we ain't gonna talk about it. No. Yeah, that's real, but we can't talk about it. We got it. Accusing them as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single person or group, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. Okay, let's go to the next one. There's a lot of stuff here, but we just get into the main thing. Here's the part I like right here. This is good too. Anti-Semitic acts are what? Criminal. So we got to go back. So if you accuse them of something real, if you speak about the fact that they control the media, which they do, that they control the banks, which they do, you're considered an anti-Semite, and well, that's illegal. That's criminal. And your man Trump said what? What did he say? I forgot. What did he say? What your man Trump say? What did he say? He said, yeah, we recognize their definition. We recognize it. Okay. I just wanted you guys to see that. Let that sit in your spirit for a minute. We're almost done, guys. Let's change the subject a little bit. What does that title say right there? What does that headline say? It says your man is attempting to overturn birthright citizenship for Native Americans too. Even though they were here first. They were here first. But we think we should probably overturn their birthright citizenship as well. Let that sit in your spirit. So what can happen to them? Yeah, they can be deported too. Just going to read this paragraph right here. It says, over the past week, there have been immigration and custom enforcement raids across the country. Citizens of the Navajo Nation, which spans across parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, have reportedly been incorrectly identified as illegal immigrants during ICE raids. This is all a setup. They know exactly what they're doing, gradually moving us in a particular direction that they want to move us. And the targets, the main targets of this ultimately is going to be our people. I'm gonna give you guys something to look up on your own. I meant to add it to this PowerPoint, but I didn't. Does anybody know who Donald Trump's favorite president is besides himself? Does anybody know? I'll tell you guys just for the sake of brevity for time. Donald Trump's favorite president is Andrew Jackson. You guys can look that up. His favorite president is Andrew Jackson. I want you guys to go and look at what Andrew Jackson was responsible for when it comes to the Native Americans. He's responsible for the Trail of Tears. He was an avid racist. He hated black people and hated the Native Americans too. Right? Go and read that history. Don't think if Priest Daniela knows the history of Andrew Jackson, so does he. So why would you choose him as your favorite? And Andrew Jackson was also somebody that did not listen to others, tried to circumvent certain laws and do his own thing, just like Donald Trump. It's the same thing. Same thing. Okay. This is the book of Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 14. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. So even considering everything we went through, I know it was a lot. I'm going to end it there. There's a lot more I wanted to get into. Then we have to get into this whole push of a race war that they're trying to incite, right? You guys see this whole thing with Carmelo Anthony and Austin, the white guy that got stabbed and stuff like that. There's a whole push, and I want you guys and brothers and sisters to really watch that case. I'm not prophesying, but I'm saying if that black boy gets off, then white folks might act up. I'm not saying that they will, but they might. If he's acquitted, then white folks might act up. Anytime you see something in the news cycle 24 hours a day, and it's all that they're talking about, it's all the media is focusing on, when there's 1,000 other things that's going on, like that young black kid that was riding that ATV that white boy killed recently. Do you guys know about that? That's not making the news cycle. You know why? Because we're the victim. So that's not making the news cycle like that. But boy, this white boy that got stabbed by this dude is 24 hours in the news cycle. They're perpetuating that for a reason. They're keeping that in front of your face for a reason. There's just a lot of things going on. So even all that's going on within the nation of Israel that we're in over the last couple of months, that have been very, sad to see what's going on in our nation, that we have to talk about. Our conduct as Israelites, our conduct as leaders, making the necessary changes within each and every one of us, changing, truly repenting, truly following Yahweh Shah. We got to talk about that stuff, absolutely. So it needed to be talked about. We've been talking about it, but I'm bringing brothers and sisters' attention to what's going on while the Most High is bringing judgment to the house of the Lord, where the Bible says judgment will begin at the house of the Lord. Just understand prophecy is still going on. Our enemies are still planning and plotting. So we have to pay attention to that too. This is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might, and put on the whole armor of God, which is this Bible, because we're going to need it, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. These rulers of the earth that are controlling what's going on, they're controlling what's going on through the power of Satan. Whether you believe it, understand it or not. But ultimately, it's the will of the Most High that these things go down. Verse 13, wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having the breastplate, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherein ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Verse 18, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit. So we always have to, and this is a place that many of us are weak in. We don't pray to the Most High. And when we pray to the Most High, we don't know what to pray for. A lot of times we're praying for carnal things. We're praying for individual things. Bless me with some money. Bless me with a new house. Bless me with this. Bless me with that. But there are other prayers, and the book of Psalms is a great place to go, where you pray for the Most High to deliver our people. You pray against your enemies. You pray for the Most High to deliver you from your enemies. Those are things we have to pray for too, right? It says, in watching thereunto with all perseverance, meaning whatever may come, and these things are going to come, we have to persevere, right? And supplication for all saints, and make supplications for all of our people, not just that you or I listen and persevere, but all the brothers and the sisters. Persevere when these things come that are prophesied to come, right? We already know that everything is decided. We already know what the prophecies say is going to happen ultimately. But the Bible does say through much tribulation, we shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. And we're coming into a time where the tribulation is going to increase. That's why I always encourage brothers and sisters to read the book of Acts. I mean, really read it and see what the apostles went through, the tribulations that they went through, and how they persevered through those tribulations, those obstacles. And pray to the Most High to build up your faith and your strength and mine, that when it's our turn, that we're able to persevere as well. That's the idea, all right? With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end it there for now. I really don't want to, I went through a lot already, and I don't want to overload brothers and sisters with too much. So I'm going to stop sharing. Elazahab, do you want to say anything? The floor is yours.
Yeah, that was a powerful class. You wasn't lying, brother. You went in on that class, man. And I like the way you brought it up from you started from Roman times, right? When we get kicked out of Rome all the way up to now. The similarities are uncanny, bro. Like, you really got to be purposely against the truth to not see that this is the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be hard, and your heart got to be made out of stone or something for you to not, when I say heart, I'm talking about your mind, right? For you to not accept and see what this is. I just wanted to throw one thing in there. I got a question, not a question, but a statement, right? You see, back in I think it was 19 AD when we got kicked out, and you were showing, certain historians were showing that basically we was proselytizing and we were trying to teach people. My question is, I wonder if they also deported or kicked Israelites out because they was causing uproars, similar to like when Trayvon Martin got killed, when our people like Tamir Rice, whenever there's injustices, you think things back then was going on and our people was rising up like, nah, we not going for this. In addition to teaching that we're the Israelites. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. So you see that in the book of Acts. Real quick, let's get it. Let me get it real quick. This is not exactly what you're talking about, but yeah, there was other things that we would rebel against too. I always read it to you guys. Let me just find where it is exactly. Okay, yeah, Acts 5. So let's go to, let me just pull it up, Acts chapter 5, and then I'll go show you.
Yeah, because they always label us as troublemakers and agitators.
Yeah, so let's do this real quick. Let me share my screen real quick, show you. Let me do this. Okay. Where is that joint? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is Acts chapter 5. I believe you guys can see it. Let's start from okay. Let's see. So this is the story of when the apostles were teaching and they were told not to teach, right? You guys should be familiar with this. We're going to pick it up from verse number 34. This is Acts chapter 5. It says, then stood there one of the council of Pharisees. So the Pharisees were having a council to try to stop the apostles from teaching because they were worried about, we already read that in the book of John, right? Right here. Let me share my full screen. Let me stop sharing and share the full screen because I want to toggle back and forth. Yeah, let's do it this way. So in John chapter 11, we see right here that the Pharisees, at verse 46, we see that the Pharisees and them had a council here, worried about what Yahushua and the apostles were doing. They wanted to put a stop to it because they were afraid the Romans were going to take away their position. Like, man, they wanted to keep their position. This is what happened before. Later on in the book of Acts, the same thing happens again. We're going to start from verse number 34. And then stood there one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had a reputation among all the people and commanded to put the apostles forth a space. So they told the apostles to leave the council because he wanted to talk to the council by themselves. And he said unto them, ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what ye intend to do as touching these men, because the Pharisees wanted to do something to these guys to get them out the way before the Romans took their position. Reading verse 36, it says, for before these days rose up Theudas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who were slain, and all, as many as obeyed him, were scattered and brought to naught. Verse 37 is the point I wanted to get to, because this is like an example of what you were talking about. Verse 37, after this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. So just to give you guys a little background to what Elder Zahab was talking about, the Israelites were always revolting about everything. That's the reason why Tiberius had us put out. That's the reason why Claudius had us put out. And later, that's the reason why Hadrian had us put out too. See it right here? Hadrian expelled the Jews. This kept happening over and over. I told you, history is a circle. It kept happening over and over and over and over again. But coming back to Acts chapter 5, right? Judas of Galilee rose up in the day of the taxing. Like, yo, why are we paying Rome tax? For what? Why are we paying them taxes? So he got a lot of guys together with him to fight against Rome because they didn't want to pay taxes and they were destroyed. So to answer Zahab's question, yes, there was always insurrections. We were always rebelling. And that's the reason why when they saw the proselytizing happening and it was being successful, we have to get those guys out of here.
Exactly.
So it's history repeating itself over and over and over and over again.
Right. Because if you marry the teaching with the militancy, then they got a big problem. Then they're going to be like, okay, we can't handle these dudes. And it's the same thing today. And not throwing shade on other movements, whether they be sovereign, whether they be this, whether it be that. You do have a militant aspect of it. You do have some brothers who stockpiling right now. We ain't going to get into that, but there's a military aspect of it too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, oppression makes a wise man angry, right? And our people have been oppressed for generations, so it's only a matter of time before it bubbles up. However, we, the ones who are spiritually called and chosen, right? We know we're supposed to take away ourselves out of the foolishness, right? Don't get caught up into the hype, so to speak, right? And those are the ones who Yahweh Shah was waking up, and the apostles were waking up and reaching out to, because we know that these things are set. These things are supposed to happen. Not the rest of our people who they don't know. They don't really fully understand the scriptures. They just have the zeal. They're like, yo, damn it, we got to do something right now. That's the ones who were carried away, like the priest just read in the book of Acts. So I just wanted to bring that out. Yeah, the same thing that's going on now, same thing been going on back then. Beautiful class.
So everybody strap y'all seatbelts in, because the ride to the kingdom is going to be bumpy. The Bible says through much tribulation we should enter into the kingdom. I want to thank everybody for coming out to today's class. You guys know we're here every week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not. And it was great seeing all you brothers and sisters that came out to Passover. The Feast of First Fruits is coming up. We're going to have something going on in New York City, so stay tuned for that, brothers and sisters. And lastly, thank you to everybody that's been donating to the camp. And we encourage you, brothers and sisters, please, let me do it right now. It's important. Let me do it right now. I have to do this. Please donate to the camp. It's very, very important to us. You know, we definitely need your assistance. If what we're doing is helpful to you, you know what I'm saying, make sure you guys help us out in any way that you can. We appreciate anything, great or small. If you cannot, that's fine. Let me just go ahead and share my screen real quick. The water. All right. So this is our website, thelionsofisrael.com. You come to the tab that says more. You come to the tab that says donations, right? And you guys can see you can donate via PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, cryptocurrency, whatever. And we promise you, brothers and sisters, we ain't going to spend this on no hoes, no strippers, or nothing, man. We're going to spend this money on doing God's work. You know what I'm talking about? So just visit us on our website and donate to us. We really appreciate you, brothers and sisters. Thank y'all for listening. If that's all, then it's your brother Priest Daniela, Elder Zahab, Lions of Israel. We'll see you guys again next week. Most I will 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that being said, I say shalom.
I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? Her name is Babylon. I call her Babs for short. She has a lot of lovers. She lets them pass her port. She has a love affair with every foreign nation. She has a favorite wine. Its name is fornication. She has a purple robe. She has a pearly necklace. And if you worship Caesar, she'll give you worldly blessings. She's insatiable. She cannot hide her passion. Last week, somebody said she rides a dragon. I know it's crazy, but the question is why she had to put a crown upon its 7 heads. And it's even deeper. I had to peep the madness. She made war with the saints that tried to keep commandments. And since she killed the righteous and won't let me be, when she burns, it won't be from an STD. Bodies everywhere, both man and beast. And on that day, the birds are gonna have a feast. You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it Her name is Babylon. The girl is such a mystery. Yeah, she's been that way since we were little kids. She nicknamed me Mark like I was 666. She said, you want my number? I said, you high as hell. She said, you need my number or you can buy or sell. She said, take my number. I know that I can't make you, but I'm espoused to Christ and I'm staying faithful. Isaiah had a vision. He saw the elevation. Jesus preached the gospel. John had a revelation. Her lovers hated Babs, so they burned her up. What's upside down? The Lord could always turn it up. You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? You let everybody get a turn. When the angels come, I'ma scream, let her burn. You let everybody get a ride. Did you really think God was gonna let it slide? I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon. I'm telling Babylon.